Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of Power Book 2 Ghost Season 2, Episode 9. This is an episode that is actually full of ghosts. It's like the name really literally applies to this episode.
Oh, yeah. It was very cool seeing all those cameos, and I really wish that they were able to get Omari back for that opening scene.
Oh
Oh,
boy.
my goodness. But it was cool to see, Proctor back, Raina back. It was cool, but man, they needed him to be there. They really did.
Yeah, we'll talk all about that, and there's so much other great stuff in this episode too.
Yeah.
Like Effie, oh my God, Effie! There is everybody do your Effie dance at the moment
Love
here,
her.
because what a great episode for her. Of course, hit that subscribe button because I know that there's only one episode left of Ghost. I know we
Yeah.
can all be collectively sad about that, but guess what? Force is right around the bend as well.
Next weekend, we have both. We have the finale of Ghost. We have the premiere of Force. It's going to be a good weekend next weekend.
It's going to be really, really fun, and hopefully we get a really crazy finale here. All sorts of Easter eggs on Force. We'll see exactly what happens. Hit that subscribe button. But okay, I gotta say this about Amari first and foremost. This is, I'm not, on here peddling some sort of theory. This is all speculation, but I just don't think he wants to do Power anymore. Like, that's like the legitimate feeling I get from it because he didn't do that recorded message of the letter earlier this season. He
Yeah.
didn't show up here. I just think he wants to move on from being James St. Patrick, which is probably very much why he is not alive despite all of those ghost alive theories out there.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love him to be alive, but yeah, there's been two very prominent opportunities for him to be back that he should have been back. He should have read that letter
Yeah.
and Tariq should have heard his voice. And I was like, okay, missed opportunity. But now that they had this episode where they had everybody but him
Yeah.
back, I'm kind of like, okay, it feels like he's just not coming back
Yeah.
for anything.
I am bummed about that. I will say,
Yeah.
since you even brought him up, I'm a big Joe Proctor guy. Like, I love Proctor. I think
I love Proctor.
Tommy killing Proctor was like one of the moments that I got like the most legitimately upset during the original Power, even though that did lead to all the great Alyssa Marie stuff. But it is like, it was a great little Easter egg to have all those people back. And really, this is an episode that had all sorts of really cool references to just sort of the larger Power universe overall.
Yeah, and I think that there was a bit of a sort of theme of this episode of sort of, can you be in this world and still have like your own internal sort of moral compass or having these things weigh on you? Because that was definitely something for Tariq. Things are weighing on him, having that sort of dream at the beginning and all these people that he feels that are on his
Yeah.
shoulders. It was a big theme of this episode. We also saw that with Braden, and we'll get more into that as well with, his choice to not kill Lauren, but, should he, shouldn't he, and there was discussion about it too, can't we still be in this game and still not make some of these decisions?
It's a complicated question, and I think here's the only answer. It is every person has to be the author of their own fate, and they have to be able to live with the consequences of their actions. And I think the way that Brayden wants to navigate this world is going to be different than the way that Tariq is going to navigate this world. Those differences are very, very clear, but the consequence of a lot of this as we dive into, I think, what is probably a lot of people's favorite moment with Effie is just that if you aren't willing to do the hard thing, then there may be somebody right behind you that is like raising their hand and being like, put me in, coach, I got this.
Yeah, this took us on a trip,
Yeah.
man. Like, okay, so we had Lauren, who Tariq was not willing to do anything other than get her out of town. He is got blinders on. He
Yeah.
has love goggles on. He cannot see anything further than that. She betrayed him. She wore the wire. Even through all of that, he's still like, nope, this is not going to happen. She just needs to get out of town. Brayden, help me out. Then we've got Kane, who could have easily taken care of this, but he
Yeah.
was also like, no, I now know that Lauren was wearing a wire. She mentioned my name, but I'm going to put it in the hands of Brayden, who's never killed anybody before, who's not really capable of this, and Kane knows it. I think even the threat of Kane saying, if you don't do this, you know what I'm going to do to you, is it's just not enough. Like, they don't have enough of that relationship where Brayden is going to be scared enough to do it, because they're not equals, but I think Brayden feels like he's proven himself and that they're
Yeah.
not at that place anymore, and that Kane doesn't have that leverage anymore. I was really surprised to see Kane make that decision, that he wasn't like, oh no, I'm on
Yeah.
that tape. That's not great. I have to take care of it. I can't trust it to Brayden.
It was a very bizarre thing, I think, for Kane to do. And yes, I understand that Kane had some other problems, but he wasn't currently trapped in Mecca's place at the time in which he spoke to Brayden. There were other opportunities that he could have made some other sort of decision along the way here, and it could have changed, fundamentally everything that we saw in this episode. I mean, it was an awesome episode for Brayden. I think this is one of my
Yeah.
favorite Brayden episodes, just overall, because, on paper, Brayden had every reason in the world to really just go completely against Tariq at this point, because, Tariq went and did what he did with the photo. He went against Brayden's own wishes, and so Brayden could have been enraged, and he could have just been like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and kill Lauren, but he doesn't do that, and I think he's still, that loyalty to Tariq is still there, and I think fundamentally he understands why Tariq did what he did.
I'm really glad that they had that conversation and that Tariq was honest with them about it. I feel like a few episodes ago, they really turned the corner where they are going to be telling each other more of the hard stuff. Now, we know that Brayden didn't turn around and tell him everything that's going on, that
Yeah.
he was caught on the wire, that Kane was caught on the wire. But it felt like it was not because he was going to hide it, but more because he was having a reaction to Tariq doing this with the photo of his dad, and he was just pissed off, and
Yeah.
he wasn't ready to talk about anything else, and he just left. So I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I understand a lot of Brayden's choices in this episode. I understand a lot of Tariq's choices in this episode when it comes to all of this situation. But I think the truly, truly magnificent part of all of this is how we sort of build towards Effie's involvement, starting with the conversation with Tariq and Effie in this episode, where Tariq is just basically just like pouring on, how special Lauren is, which, by the way, he was just with Effie, and I know their relationship, like, they're not boyfriend and girlfriend or anything, but
No.
nobody wants to sit there and hear you talk about somebody else who you've been with recently and how awesome that they are, just like in front of you. If I was Effie, it's not even a jealousy thing. I would just be like, the disrespect, man. Like, that is just harsh.
Yeah, I think it's just that I think their friendship comes first. And I know that that seems like a weird thing to say because they also obviously have the business aspect
Yeah.
of it. And I think that that also is, there as well. It feels like friendship is at the top, and then business, and then their romantic relationship. That their romantic relationship just isn't the priority for really either of them. And I think that that's why Tariq does feel like he can be honest with her and lean on her with how he's feeling about the whole thing that Lauren went through with the wire, but that he still trusts her, he still cares about her, he doesn't want her dead, that he's able to lean on that friendship. And Effie is confident enough in herself and their friendship to be like, okay, I hear what you're saying. And as your friend, I can see that you have love goggles on and you are not looking at the whole situation, that there is more to this. You've got, Braden's involved in this,
Yeah.
you're involved in this, Kane's involved in this, our business is involved in this, which means I'm involved in this. Lauren is a problem for multiple people, and you're not seeing straight.
It is so unbelievably messy. Like, I love how messy all of this is. And I've seen people online being like, oh, Tariq had this conversation with Effie, knowing Effie was going to go and take care of it because of that. And I don't necessarily like fully buy into that, but I do think that, Effie, the moment that she has this conversation with Tariq, she sort of realizes, okay, I gotta take matters into my own hands here, because do I really want to trust Braden here, Mister? He's a hustler. He works hard. He does all these different things, but does that make him a killer? Does that make him willing to do the tough things?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think that's why she decided to go straight to Kane, because I think she thought that once Kane knew that he was implicated, that he would just go take care of the situation. I think once she was having the conversation later with Braden, where she realized, she was like, oh noes, this isn't great. Now Braden's the person who's going to be in charge of this. This isn't going to end up actually being taken care of in the way it needs to be. So we saw that she, of course, followed them. There was that great scene sort of at the end where Braden was like, here, take this money, Lauren, go, disappeared. She's like, thank you. Effie shows up. She's like, no. This isn't going to be the way that it's going to be. Now, there's a lot of sort of debate that's been going on of whether or not Effie actually killed Lauren or not. Because that scene at the very end when she crawls into bed with Tariq and she's looking like she's got her fist up to her face and she's really kind of looking like worried. It could be that she killed Lauren and she's worried that Tariq is going to be upset about it. I'm not sure if that's where it's going to be, because I think that she can explain her way out of that in a way that will end up making sense to Tariq when he really, really thinks about it. Also, if she killed Lauren, I mean, Lauren's supposed to be off the grid. Tariq's never, ever going to hear from Lauren again, unless the body pops up, which it very well could.
Yeah.
He's never going to know. So what I actually kind of wondered is, did she actually end up letting Lauren go? Where she decided she was going to actually kill Lauren, but Lauren was able to talk her way out of it, or maybe Effie just decided that there was another way, and she's worried that she made the wrong decision in letting her go, because that's the thing that could really screw her over.
All right, it's big brain time here. Okay, I this is what happened, everyone. I say this not knowing what the finale is going to be. All right, so I think she's dead. Like, I think they got rid of Lauren. I think they were just like, okay, we just saw Chef being killed this past week. We saw what happened to CARRIE. We want to mix things up. We don't want to show this off on screen. We could sort of take a look at it a little bit later. And I think ultimately, like, one of the big questions is just like, maybe why would Effie leave Lauren alive? And it's certainly possible she did, and that may be why she's feeling this sort of guilt. But it's like, where would Lauren go? Would she go in like Joe Goldberg's like plastic box and just stay there forever? It's like there's no place that you could just sort of send this character off where she's like for sure not going to be a problem. So I think what's going to happen here, because Power tends to kind of repeat some of its storylines, Lauren's going to die. Somebody, I don't know, some like hiker in the middle of nowhere is going to discover her body or whatever. And then season 3 is going to be all about what happened to Lauren. And then Davis is going to get involved. And then we're all going to go through this cycle again.
No, I think that Lauren has to be dead. I mean, Effie knows that even if Lauren went off the grid as much as she could and took the money and just like lived off of that money for the rest of her life, her name is still the same. Nobody gave her any sort of like new ID, new different person. I mean, her parents, of course, would look for her for the rest of their lives. Like, it's just Effie killed her.
Yeah, I just think Effie had to get. You know what? Not that I condone anything that Effie is doing, but for her character, I understand what the motive would be for that. She
has so many motives.
Yeah, she's trying to protect a delicately complicated organization, one that she is heavily implicated in, and she's also, at a prestigious university in her own right. She's like trying to make her own way in the world, and she can't have this mess.
And I think think she's protecting all the people that are involved. I think that even though Effie has betrayed Tariq in the past, I think she does truly care about him. She cares about the friendship.
Yes.
She cares about the business. She cares about him romantically. I think she just cares about him on many different levels. And getting rid of Lauren is something that would protect him, protect her, protect Brayden, Kane, business, her school, like everything. It just makes the most sense. If she didn't do it, I would be shocked. Just the same as if they decided to have Brayden actually kill her.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have believed it.
No, I'm so glad they didn't go that way.
And speaking of some things that I'm having a hard time believing,
All right.
we're 16 minutes into this now, so, buckle up, guys. I am not believing this whole adoption Yaz story. This lawyer that is working for Ghost's estate and Will, it is just... This doesn't make any sense. So basically we have the whole, if the family is wiped out, which they're not, then Yaz is supposed to go into adoption. She's supposed to have her name changed. Her location is supposed to not be disclosed and she will just disappear. So in the last episode, we had him telling Tariq this, that now she's in the midst of being adopted. I was just like, okay, well, the family's not wiped out. Tariq is not in jail. He hasn't been convicted of anything yet. The trial is still happening. Yeah. Then we've got the grandmother who's in rehab, so she should be out in a couple months and able to take Yaz. The family's not gone. But the lawyers just decided to put her up for adoption anyways. Now in this episode, we have the lawyer actually driving Tariq up to the house where Ghost Will said that she is supposed to have her name changed and no one is supposed to know where she is. Who is this lawyer? Why is he doing this? This is not his instructions. He's just gone off script to do whatever he feels like. They should have just had the grandmother get cleaned up, take Yaz. She doesn't need to be getting adopted or any of this other stuff. Like, he has enough on his plate to make his character, Tariq, complicated enough that he doesn't also need to look at her, I guess, on her birthday and be like, yeah, this is the right thing. She's with this really great adopted family. Oh, and it's her birthday, and I'm just going to let all that go? No. Guys.
Petition to change the name of Ghost Lawyer to YOLO Esquire, because this guy is YOLOing all over the place, doing whatever he wants. He doesn't seem like he cares. Like, the biggest problem I have is, of course, you're not supposed to know where Yaz is or anything else. Okay, here's the house that Yaz is staying at. Let's watch her do it. I feel like the writers were trying to be like, okay, maybe this is Tariq sort of accepting that he can't be in Yaz's life with all of this sort of stuff going on, and this could be the right thing for her. Yeah, sure, maybe that's the case, even though Tariq has spent all season not really caring about that and trying to get Yaz back anyway. That is a big leap, but it is also like a total defiance of everything that had been set up emotionally when it comes to like the stakes of Yaz being gone, that he just knows where she is.
Speaking of people being YOLO in this episode, Drew? Why? Drew decided to just air himself out of everything that happened with the drugs to Lorenzo.
Yeah.
It was really weird. So Lorenzo, of course, is really upset about everything. He's trashed his room. The drugs are gone. He doesn't know what to do. And then he says to Drew, okay, we're going to go and deal with Lil Guap. I want to look him in his face. And for some reason, Drew just folded and was like, yep, it was me. I did this. It was so bizarre. Like, some of the things that have been happening with these kids that are just kind of, I don't know, airing themselves out, airing other people out. Like, everything that happened with Diana in that last episode where she just aired her mom out. I'm telling you, if I ever did something like that to my mom is not Monet. She doesn't have any bodies behind her, but I would get a cut ass into my next 5 lifetimes if I ever tried to do something like that. And I'm surprised that there isn't more of that coming down on Diana from Monet.
I sure hope that is happening. Like, because that's got to happen. Otherwise, it just feels like this entire storyline is a little bit of just sort of a wah-wah. And with Drew, I really like Drew, but at the same time, it feels like every morning Drew wakes up and one morning it is like, I'm going to be a badass today. And then the next morning it is like, I'm going to tell Lorenzo everything. It is just sort of like it seems like it all just varies depending on how he's feeling at a given moment in time. And I want Drew to be this sort of boss because he feels like on paper he's way more qualified for it than Kane, who is a psychopath. And then also some of the other people we've met, certainly better than Lorenzo. But I just don't know with this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a strange situation for Drew in general because the whole first season, he was very much, I don't really want to be part of this. I want to have a different life. I'm going to be an artist. I'm going to go sort of live my own thing. And he was getting really pressured to, of course, be part of the family business. Now Lorenzo's back and he's really pressuring him. Yeah. I think he is still having this push and pull inside of him of, I want to be here. I want to be here. But I just didn't understand why he went through all of that for his revenge. He got his revenge and is like, I'm just going to tell my dad everything now. It was crazy. So they did end up getting all of Mecca's drugs.
Yep.
So that's where they are with that. We did end up having sort of this other moment with Kane and Mecca where Mecca, we all knew that Mecca knew that Kane would betray him. And I think he thought by killing Chef, he was going to try to show Kane, listen, if I'm willing to kill Chef, I'm willing to kill you. But I think it really just proved to Kane that he's kind of untouchable.
It's all this stuff with Mecca at this point is so interesting because Mecca is so clearly compromised by Monet that he's not really thinking or operating in the way that he once did. And it's also just, I love Mecca. I'm just going to say it. I think he is a fantastic villain. I think he's a great character.
He's a really good character.
Like, I'm going to miss him so much when they probably kill him off during the finale, just because he's brought a lot to the table for these past several weeks.
Oh, he's getting set up to die. Monet is for sure setting him up to die. So Mecca's biggest mistake was giving Kane access to everything and being like, you're my number 2 now. You now have access to everything in my operation. I also have complete access to you, so I know where you are all the time. Now that Monet knows that Dante and Mecca are the same person, she knows that Kane has been brought into Mecca's organization. She knows pretty much everything she needs to know. Yes. She has basically set up Mecca to go and die so that he will go after Lorenzo. She's like, hey, unconvincingly, hey, me and all my kids, we're ready to go and be with you. We just have this one last loose end that Lorenzo is still alive. I'm surprised that Mecca didn't turn to her and be like, well, then go take care of it. Go take care of it and then come back and meet me and we'll all get on this plane and go. No, Mecca's like, don't worry, I got you. I'm going to go take care of it. So it feels like he's getting set up to go and die. And now that Kane has access to all of Mecca's organization, that means that next season we're going to see Monet versus Lorenzo.
As the song said, the power of love is a curious thing. And for Mecca, it is clearly a very curious thing that he's just willing to take Monet and Kane, of all people's words, at it. Because it's not like Drew is there being like, yeah, Mecca, I'm really happy to go off all around the world with you. Diana's not there. This guy doesn't really know.
Diana's not going anywhere with Monet.
No, like this guy is really taking way too much just at its word when it comes to everything that is going on here. And so all of this is really compromising his head. And then, on top of everything else now, there is the issue with the bag that Tariq now has. And this scene...
What a great reveal. Oh my God.
The scene with Tariq and Mecca is fantastic. And just the conjuring up another ghost here who didn't actually appear, but the ghost of Lobos showing up after all of this time was awesome in its own right.
Yeah, so we learned that Dante made a deal and that he's an informant and he is informed on a lot of bad
Yeah.
people. I was wondering what was so important about this bag that he had to have it back. And sure enough, the documents for his deal are in that bag. So, I mean, we've seen Mecca kill people for way less than this. But I mean, Tariq played it really well. He got the bag out of his dorm. Who knows where it is? Who knows who has it? Dante doesn't really have a choice except to give him the money. However, after he gets those papers back, if he doesn't kill Tariq, then I do not believe it. So Dante is going to die in the finale 100%. He can't go forward. There's no way.
It's just, as much as I love Mecca, it's just not realistic that he would not go after Tariq in some shape or form after all of this. Like, and I know that there are some people online basically being like, okay, he doesn't want to kill Tariq because Ghost technically did him a favor without knowing
It's those papers, man. That's all he cares about.
No, he just cares about those papers. But man, that stuff with Tariq and Mecca was so good having them in that same scene. But okay, there's a couple other odds and ends here we have to get to of things that aren't necessarily as good. For starters, Rashad Tate, now that you have the pick, can you just go do your own spinoff at this point? It's like you got what you needed. You're not a professor. You're not qualified to teach any of these people on your own.
No, it's time to just announce that this is filming. Get this together. Like, it was announced that this was coming, and then it's like we've heard nothing else. It's just like, poof. Yeah. Why? They've set him up really well in this season to have this spinoff. I am interested. I wasn't as interested before. I'm more interested now. Give me the spinoff. It's time.
Also, Rashad, you are the worst brother I've ever seen, going up on the stand and just like hanging your own brother out to dry by basically making him look like he's unqualified. And like, you were such a jerk. But okay, the other thing here is Zeke. You know, I will say this. I was very critical of how they handled a lot of the age stuff with Zeke, and I still am. I still think there's a lot of problems.
They still haven't explained it. They explained to him why Monet made the decision she made. I'm like, okay, I believe that. I'd like you to explain his age now. 4 years difference. He's 4 and he's really 8.
Yeah.
Get out. No way.
There are huge, like enormous Grand Canyon sized problems with all of this. I will say I kind of misjudged a part of it when it comes to his NBA prospects, because I was so in my head about, okay, he's not going to get drafted because of his age. People are not going to want to be around him. He's not going to have the same upside. But I think this episode did illuminate it that, yes, that's a concern, his age, but I think it's more so the perception that he has been lying about it this whole time, and that there's nothing really that, a team with millions of dollars at risk is going to trust him. Like, I think that I can't see Zeke being a big part of season 3, but I don't think it's because he's going to be playing in the NBA. I think he's going to be playing in like Spain or Italy or one of these other countries where he's going to have to really work his way back.
No, the Zeke character feels like he's wrapped up. Everything, his mother screwed him over. The age thing really screwed him over. I still don't really understand why she decided to change his age. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Why bother to do this? She didn't need to do this. It was just all bizarre. I mean, but his story really is wrapped up now. She's not going to be able to use him to go into the NBA and live off of him. He's not going to give that to her. It's all messed up now. I think his story is wrapped up. Lauren's story is wrapped up. Whether she's dead or not, it's really wrapped up.
Here's the biggest sign of endorsement we can give to this episode. We have been here talking for 30 minutes, and it really only feels like it's been about 10, because as problematic as certain things were, the adoption, I still think that this was just such a fantastic episode.
It was really good.
Built up to the finale quite nicely. So thank you guys for watching, for chatting with us. We love hearing what you got to say, and hit that subscribe button. We've got Book 4 Force coming soon alongside the finale.
Yep.
We will see you guys here next time.